Hey, evening everybody. This is Hunter from The Real Pineapple. And before you listen to our review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I wasn't aware of this until about an hour ago, but there was a shooting at Christmas Hill Park in Gilroy, California during the Gilroy Garlic Festival. Things are still being found out about it. All I know is that it looks like just from the news app I'm on that someone might have been injured, but there were gunshots. And we're not a political podcast. We try to just review movies and kind of leave it at that. But I really thought it was important to go ahead and send our thoughts and prayers to anyone who might have been affected. Praying that no one was hurt. But to the whole city of Gilroy, California, that's pretty close to Santa Clara. So just really praying for that whole community at this time. It's really unfortunate that this just keeps happening, and all we can pray for is that we learn and continue to grow, and that hopefully things are things move forward. So thank you so much for listening, guys. We appreciate your support, and enjoy our review of Once Upon a Time in Mexico, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, guys. 3, 2, 1.
You ready?
You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. All right, to go on in. 3, 2, Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Real Pineapple. This is your humble co-host, Hunter. And I'm here with the pride of the land of potatoes, Idaho. Good
Never
old
gets
Boise.
old, does it?
Nope, it's a joke I will continue to go to until we stop doing this. Scott, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing excellent. Good to be back, as always. We had a little bit of a snafu on the last one, so this is technically my first one back, but it's a good warm-up.
So this will be the actual first returning review for Scott. We did a great review for Little. That's what we're due here. We'll probably do it over Labor Day weekend, but basically it'll fall into the annex of, it was a great recording and it got lost in the sands of time. So, or a very shoddy accidental snafu on my part, which I fully acknowledge. I accidentally saved over my own recording, and that was super cool. Yeah, so I'll be emailing the files to you tonight, Scott, because I don't trust myself right now. But so this is Scott officially. Welcome back.
Grazie.
And you came back for a great movie? Question mark? Because we're talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I kept wanting to say Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
Why?
Just because that's just fresher in my mind. Like, I know it's weird, but like that's obviously been out longer, so I just kind of on instinct want to say that. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is Quentin Tarantino's penultimate final film, because he said he's stopping at 10, which I personally think is bullshit. But because he said he still wants to do Star Trek, so in theory, Star Trek would be his last film. And I just don't think it will be, because just this past week, news came out that they're talking about Kill Bill Volume 3, which I'll be honest, I don't want that. I really don't want
Yeah, I want that.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, I love Kill Bill.
No, I do too, but
you think they're going to ruin it?
Yeah, the second one had such a definitive ending. Like,
I would have liked to see him do the new Charlie's Angels, which we'll end up reviewing as well.
Yeah, so here's the thing about Quentin Tarantino. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. I actually still think Jackie Brown is his best film. I know I'm in the minority on that, but I love
it's a good one.
Jackie Brown.
It's definitely underrated.
Yeah, like it's definitely probably his most underrated film. But I mean, you look at Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill Volume 2, Hateful Eight, Death Proof. From Dusk to Dawn's a great one too. I really enjoyed that one too. I'm just gonna tell you, dude. The last couple Tarantino films, Hateful Eight, I thought was good, but I didn't love it. I haven't seen it in a while, so I'd have to watch it again. Mm-hmm. But just from what I remember, I'd probably be in that C plus B minus range. Django Unchained is probably one of my most conflicted films that we've ever reviewed. I believe we have actually reviewed that. That's way back in the archive there. So go ahead and check that review out. But I remember saying on that review, actually now I'm blanking if we have reviewed that or not. If we haven't, we should. But I remember.
No.
Yeah,
I feel like that's something we would have reviewed.
Yeah, I feel like it too, but
I'm confident in our past.
Actually, no, Django Unchained was 2012, so we weren't doing the podcast back then. So well, shit,
we're gonna have to do it.
Django Unchained, yeah, because I would actually like to review that. But I will say, for me, my big conflict comes from Tarantino loves using that N-word, man. He loves it. He loves it almost as much as he loves feet, which we will get into as one of my. Tarantino loves feet, though. That's not even that's not even
no. You're right. It's not like a controversial thing to say.
Yeah, Tarantino's admitted it. I mean, but we'll get there. But that movie's so hard for me because I feel like he used the N-word way too much, even for a time where they're saying the N-word as much as they were. I even went okay, you like the N-word, I get it. I mean, I can say it.
Past the point of reality, you mean? You feel like there's a certain point where it's okay, this is you're trying to prove a point.
Yeah, it was at the point someone was eating corn, and they're like, "Oh my god, these niggers are delicious!" They're talking about corn. No, I'm talking about these niggers. It's okay, I get it. You like the N-word. Stop, please. But it did get to a point where
I don't think it was not. I'm trying to think if I remember it being used in this movie. Was it in?
It was not.
I don't remember hearing it.
And that's gonna actually kind of be it's a compliment, but it's almost backhanded.
A gripe because you wanted a little bit more. You wanted just a peppering.
I mean, he's talking about the 60s, and it's not like black people weren't around, right. But there wasn't one black person in this fucking movie. No Martin Luther King mention, no, of his assassination, no mention of Malcolm X. There's references to fucking so much shit in this movie, and there's no civil rights mention, no. And I will just sorry before I guys start going off here, Scott. Yes. So. Now, I know I'm in the minority on this. Mm-hmm. I know I am. I'm putting that out there. I'm usually in the minority. But I know I'm in the minority on this. I don't like Inglourious Bastards. Mm-hmm. I've watched it 3 times, and I can't get into it. I think Brad Pitt's great, and Christoph Waltz is, incredible in that movie. That put him on everyone's radar. I don't believe we reviewed. Yeah, we weren't doing the podcast then either. No. Yeah, no, that was 10 years ago, so we damn sure weren't doing the podcast back then. But yeah, I mean, kind of your thoughts on Inglourious Bastards. Do you like it?
So for me, it goes Pulp Fiction as far as Quentin Tarantino movie. I think Inglourious Bastards falls in the top 3 of my favorite of his. Yeah, okay. I really enjoyed that one, along with Django Unchained, and then I would say Pulp Fiction is my favorite. But I mean, Reservoir Dogs is great, and he's got way more makes than he does misses, and there's a certain bar that he has set at this point that I think we can agree is a real thing that. We judge him a little bit heavier than other people, based on some of the classics he's put out. But yeah, I personally like Inglourious Bastards. I like Christoph Waltz was amazing. Something we'll sort of get into with this movie is I really love the way of his really setting the scene, and with Inglourious Bastards, you felt like you were there, and it was just very beautifully done as far as cinematography, and the same kind of goes with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Is the setting in the late 60s, actually 50s and 60s, is I feel like they really kill it as far as the wardrobe and kind of the feel of it all.
So that is what's so frustrating to me about this movie, is that there was stuff I enjoyed the hell out of. Leonardo DiCaprio plays Rick Dalton, who's this, who is just, he's such a prick. He's such an asshole that you shouldn't like him. But Quentin Tarantino, and I'll give him props on this, huge props on this. He does such a great job of making Rick Dalton vulnerable, so that even when he's being a dick, he's still broken enough that you go, okay, this is coming from a dark place. One thing I will say, and we've been doing the podcast for a minute, we've gotten, our share of, praise and our share of criticisms, and that's something just about art in general that's really tough about it, is that for all the, yeah, you're doing great, you get this, fuck you. I mean, I've gotten into multiple arguments with black folk about Tyler Perry movies on Twitter, and it's like, well, this is a consequence of putting out, putting this, putting our thoughts out there, and so Rick Dalton, I felt bad for him, because I'm watching this, I go, yeah, I get it. I mean, when I lost that recording for Little, I was telling Alea, I freaked out. I was pretty much doing what Rick Dalton did in his trailer when he had that one scene where he fucked up. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Like, I was like yelling at myself. I was like, "Oh, okay, this is how I start carving things into the wall and shit." But I was really upset. So when he freaked out like that, I went, "Yeah, dude, I get it."
I actually really liked his character. I didn't think he was too unlikable. I think he was just kind of like, he was like really portraying like Hollywood at that time. Definitely a little bit arrogant and not like realizing it always.
Unlike actors now, they're
totally humble all the time.
Yeah, never throw temper tantrums, Alec Baldwin.
But they did show his, like you said, his vulnerable side, and like the fact that he's aging himself. That Leonardo DiCaprio is aging as an actor, and who's been like an amazing actor all of his career. Kind of to go through that period in his life, where like, well, like maybe I am over the hill at this point, and it's definitely relatable in that aspect, but. Yeah, I mean, we can get into it. I really like the chemistry between Brad Pitt and Leo. I think was great. There wasn't. I don't think it was. I was trying to think of a comparable movie, and I think The Good Guys is probably the closest.
Okay, interesting.
As far as like a, kind of a duo that's kind of as star-studded as this, but I don't think they had that as that good a chemistry. But I like them together, and I like Brad Pitt pretty much in everything, so I can't really fault him on too much here.
Oh, did you mean The Nice Guys? Is that what you meant?
What did I say? Good Guys? Yeah, The Nice Guys. Yeah, Nice Guys. Right.
Yeah.
What did you think about the chemistry?
So the chemistry is the strongest part about this movie. I had to look it up because there's some scenes with Brad Pitt where his shirt is off, which insert thumb right here. But
you were just at the Pride Parade.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what can I say? I'm feeling myself a little bit here, especially looking at Brad Pitt. But so Brad Pitt is 55, dude,
wow.
And I just gotta say, goddamn, good for you, sir. I mean,
although I will say this is like the first movie that he sort of is starting to look maybe his age. Like a little bit. He doesn't look bad, but like for Brad Pitt standards, where he's just like a knockout 10, he's like, okay, you can kind of tell it's catching up with him.
I mean, so I feel like he's gonna look like old and like distinguished.
Oh, definitely.
He'll look like Anderson Cooper in 5 years. Be like, I mean, I'll still call him Daddy if he wants me to, whatever. But I mean, was that too much?
No, not at all.
Okay.
That was fitting, very fitting for this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for this podcast, yes, very fitting. But I think he looks great though. I mean, because there's this scene where he's having to fix the satellite, Rick's satellite, and I will say the relationship between the two of them, it does feel one-sided for me, which is why I thought Rick was more of a dick. But it's what I like so much about their relationship is that Cliff, he talks about how he's a huge stuntman. He has been working for Rick for years and everything. I think they say 8 years. And what's interesting is how the movie kind of sets you up to go like, well, he's so good at his job, why wouldn't he be more popular? And then you find out that, oh, he killed his wife and got away with it, which the movie plays off for a laugh, and I was like, that's fucking dark. Like,
there's a cut, and there's a lot of like kind of weirdly timed cuts in this movie, but that was one of them. I was like, oh, wait, is this? Oh, okay, they're gonna do this. That's fine.
Yeah, like the movie like plays it off like, it's not funny. And I was like, no, that's actually really dark. What the hell? And so there's that whole thing, but then there's the whole concept too of how just how simply he's living too because of it. I mean, he's basically Riggs in Lethal Weapon. Like, he's out in the middle of nowhere with like a camper. He's got a dog he takes care of better than he does himself. You know, it is rather cliche, pardon me, in that sense, but he's such a good friend. Like, he's like, honestly, Scott, it made me think of you. Like, if I need you to be my stuntman because we look so much alike. Yeah, you'd never be able to tell the difference. But
the people say that you're my doppelganger all the time.
I hear that constantly. but Cliff is that friend who's just better than you, knows he's better than you, but just does everything with a smile, but never puts you down. Is always encouraging. Yeah. Like, everyone needs a friend like that, and I will say, Scott, you have been that friend. But
you're gonna make me cry on this podcast.
I know, but I was like, it'd be like if you or I were Rick and the other person was Cliff, but we weren't assholes.
Who would you be, Hunter? I think you're more of a DiCaprio, and I'm more of a Brad Pitt.
But see, you're more handsome, so you're Rick by default. So
you think I'm more of a Brad Pitt to your Leo?
No, you're the Leo.
I'm the Leo. You're telling me you think Leo is more attractive than Brad Pitt?
Yeah, he is.
That's a hard disagree for me.
Brad
Pitt is dreamy.
You think Brad Pitt's better looking than Leo?
I think so. Leo is like a...
Well, so the reason I'm saying that is because I can't believe we're having this conversation.
No, I'm glad we're here. We need to hash this out.
Yeah, I'm happy
Let's hash it out.
But so the reason I'm saying that you're Leo is because I think the popular consensus in the community is that Leo is more handsome than Brad Pitt. I'm okay.
I think you're wrong. I think people still believe Brad Pitt is. I think they think Leo is a better actor, but I don't think they think that Brad Pitt is less attractive. But that's that's just me, California boy. I like some nice locks. The flowing blonde.
So to cover my bases. Audience, whichever one you think is more attractive is Scott. I'm the other one, because that's how I feel. Right. There have been times I've seen myself go like, oh man, I'm looking good, and I see Scott. I'm like, oh, you asshole!
Please,
like, why are you so handsome? But their friendship's the best part about this movie. I think everything else. Okay, that's too strong. I think so many of the other elements really fall short. Perfect example. Margot Robbie, why the hell was she even in this movie? Like, she did nothing in this. And it's not even her fault, because I thought for what they gave her, I went, okay, you're doing good with what you have, but the problem is it's so limiting for what you have.
And I really liked her, I feel like, to begin the movie, because my expectations were that things were going to happen in this movie, and nothing really does. And the movie, I would say, for the first 2 acts is just build up, and that I definitely had a problem with that, and I think that didn't lend these characters to be as interesting as they could be, and because that's why we love Quentin Tarantino, is because he comes up with these brilliant characters that are so interesting, and you want to be around them and figure out what's going on. But like you said, Margot Robbie just like, this like kind of hippie rich girl who doesn't really do anything ever, and like I feel like a fifth of this movie was her seeing herself on a poster and going and watching herself, which is like fine. I'm not saying that is you should keep that out, but like this movie was 2 hours and 41 minutes. Like I was even expecting that going in, and it still felt a little bit long. What did you feel about the runtime?
Dude, this needed to be 25 minutes short.
At least. I would say at least.
At least. No. And I think the big thing is, too, so Sharon Tate is known mostly for being, basically in Cliff Booth's position at the end of the movie where, her house got ransacked and she got, killed by some of Manson's followers, Charles Manson's followers. What's really weird about this movie is considering how big the Charles Manson part and that whole what you call community, how big they are in the final act of the movie. Charles Manson's barely in this movie too, and I'm just like, okay, for how big something that he creates is, the fact that I don't see him that much, I was like, that seems like the movie kept doing stuff like that where I went, what are you doing? And I think you put it perfectly. The first two acts are all build up, but it felt like aimless build up.
Absolutely.
I was just sitting there. I was like, I don't know where you're going with this. I think something like Reservoir Dogs is a way better example of like, hey, you have all these kind of storylines together, and then it kind of converges, or even Kill Bill Volume 1. But but damn, I was just sitting there watching this going, I don't really know what you're really trying to accomplish here. I get that it's a love letter to the 60s, and I will give Tarantino and the cast and crew a lot of credit. The amount of effort I'm sure it took to remake some of these, like, just basic shit, like the old school cinema, signs, and like the Der Wiener Schnitzel and stuff like that.
For sure. Like he sets a very, very well thought out scene. Like just a setting overall in general. You go. Sorry to cut you off, but you're going back to Margot Robbie. The main characters don't meet her until literally the last scene, and you were talking about all these story arcs coming together. Pulp Fiction is a great example of that, where you're going from scene to scene and different people, and you're wondering how it comes together. And I was expecting that in this one, because you are following these different storylines. You're like, okay, this is going to take a while to, like, it takes time to develop each storyline and then have them come together, but you're just like waiting for it to happen, and it just kind of never really pays off.
Yeah, I think that was probably my biggest problem, is that, we know that Margot Robbie has, chemistry with Leo from Wolf of Wall Street. It's like you don't get really even a scene with them until, as you mentioned, the very end, and their interaction time is so absolutely fucking brief. I did love Al Pacino in this, because it was really nice to just get that taste of Jack and Jill out of my mouth, because the last time I remember seeing him something, and I was like, oh god, like, you son of a bitch. So he plays Marwin Schwartz, who is, I will say, a very stereotypical Jew. Like if you were Jewish and you were like, hey, that character really offended me, I go, you know what, fair enough, because I can't even be mad at you, because he's doing the whole like he's talking with his hands, you know what I mean? Like very like, I got my own for this one. It's like, okay, like,
we get it. You don't have to use Yiddish. Like, we understand.
I mean, he was just short of wearing a yarmulke in the scene. Honestly, that was like the one thing like they didn't have him do. But I mean, as far as his dialogue and him giving Rick this, I would say it's a pep talk, but it's a pretty shitty pep talk. It's just telling him basically like, look, you're better than this, and your star is falling. And it's like, damn, okay, like it's a pretty, like, it's kind of played for laughs at first, but I appreciate how the scenes actually got darker as it went on. I was like, damn, he's telling him, like, look, you kind of need to start doing spaghetti westerns. That's kind of your only...
And he does kind of, like, he throughout the movie, like as the story progresses, Cliff and DiCaprio's character Rick, where was I going with this? Lost my train of thought. So one thing I wanted to know from you was there's like quite a few instances within this movie where, not quite a few, but there were a few where they try to replicate historical events and people. And one thing that got me was the Bruce Lee character. And Margot Robbie's character actually takes some like classes with him, but Brad Pitt's character Cliff actually ends up whooping his ass. I bring it up because it's before he took his sunglasses off, he looked like a spitting image. Like it was I thought it was like dubbed over.
Mike Moe is the guy's name.
Yeah,
I don't say I'm saying that right.
Right, and I feel like that was kind of a surprising highlight of it, of this movie. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought some of it was, I thought the Bruce. So I love that scene because it shows how Cliff, him being that really a template for that Hollywood, badass, like that Steve McQueen types. And the guy they have in here playing Steve McQueen does not look like Steve McQueen at all. I was like, all right. Kind of like the guy who played Snoop Dogg in Straight Outta Compton. It was like, you don't look like Snoop Dogg fucking at all. But
because nobody looks like Snoop Dogg. That's why.
True. Exactly. But I appreciate the scene with Cliff and Bruce Lee because it shows that Cliff is that Hollywood, that Hollywood badass for better or worse. Right. Like he very easily could have just been like, "Look, I don't need to get in this fight. I'm good." Or he could have just punched him in the face or clotheslined him. But the fact he threw him into a car they're using on set, I'm like, dude, you can't. So they rightfully go, yeah, get the fuck off set. Kurt Russell's
I like that. I like that. Cliff is just like this animal. Like he doesn't. He's like looks like a pretty boy, but he just like throws people around.
Yeah, like he's basically the Punisher. Like he's as close to the Punisher as you can get without actually killing people. I will say though, I love that scene just because of of how it shows how Cliff is, and you see that scene, you go, oh, that's why he's not a big stuntman anymore because his temper gets in the way of shit. And I will say, because it's a Tarantino movie, of course the cast is stacked. You have Al Pacino, Kurt Russell, one of my favorite actors working now, Timothy Olyphant. You've got it shows that Leah Dunham was in this. I don't remember seeing her, thank goodness. Margot Robbie, Brad Pitt, Leo, the last appearance of Luke Perry. God bless Luke Perry and his family. His son's actually a wrestler, and for All Elite Wrestling, he's really fucking good. So just a quick shout out to him. But I will say though, the thing that drove me nuts, and there are a couple things that just really bugged me about this movie, as we mentioned kind of at the start. Quentin Tarantino loves feet. Like it's not even it's not even a question of, oh, does he like feet? No, he loves feet. He's basically senior feature, basically from Kroll Show. Like he loves feet so much. and there's a scene where Cliff gives this girl who's a part of Charlie Manson's gang. They call her Pussycat, which I was like, oh, that's not creepy at all. He gives her a ride back to basically the Manson compound, and first off, so
wait. I just to make sure we're on the same page. Was that the Manson compound, or was that just like a little community?
I guess you call it community.
Okay, I didn't know if that's because I feel like I missed maybe a few references in this movie that were kind of. Maybe a little.
Let's
bit
just
more.
call it the Manson community.
No, that's fine. I just didn't know if they were referring to like Manson, like and that type of movement. I thought it was more like one of those commune type of like whatever. I mean, I guess it turned out to be super radical, right? I mean, they're going to try to kill those people, but
yeah. So I mean, so
spoiler alert.
Yeah, so Cliff is giving. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean, listen. If you listen to one of our reviews, if you listen to a few of our reviews, you should know by now. There's always spoilers.
Well, I'll put a spoiler warning in here. And by the way, if you're really like the Manson, like you don't know about Charles Manson, come on now. But
no, I mean it being in the movie, I might be surprised. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean they show it pretty early in the first teaser. Even they show Charles Manson, but whatever. Anyways, but Cliff giving Pussycat a ride home. So first off, he's seen her a couple times throughout the movie, and I will say this girl, Margaret Qualley, I think that's her name. She's gorgeous. She's absolutely beautiful. I was like, oh wow, okay. But the moment he goes, and rightfully so, might I add, because Cliff kind of looks at her and goes like, hey, I'll give you a ride. And she goes, oh my god, yay. She doesn't sound like that. But
basically, she's like 14.
I mean, yeah. And so Cliff wisely goes, hey, how old are you? And her response is so disturbing. She just goes, no one's asked me that in a long time. And I went, oh, wow, that is fucking horrible. So Cliff, rightfully so, goes, oh, hey, I'm going to keep giving you a ride, but nothing else. Like
she just straight up goes, so can I blow you or what? And he's like,
yeah, she goes, yeah, can I suck your dick while you're driving? And,
let me get your ID. Oh, wait, you don't have one because you're not 18.
Yeah, and he's very smart about it. And then she puts her feet up on the dashboard, and Tarantino like zooms in on the feet, like I'm gonna see
because that's not the only time, because you see Margot Robbie's feet, and if you'll notice, both of them are dirty. So when Margot Robbie is in the theater, she puts her feet up, and clearly she like isn't wearing shoes or whatever, so they're kind of dirty, but it's like right in front. And then the point we're talking about with Pussycat is, she just is like smushing her feet up against the dash, and Tarantino is getting a huge hard on from that. You know that for sure.
Yeah, it's the thing that just made me go, okay, is when they're at the Manson house or compound, whatever you want to call it, and he has all those hippie chicks just walking around with dirty feet, and Quentin is on those feet. Like, I'm like, they have faces. Oh yeah, that's right. Like, that's my Tarantino impression. I know, but anytime. So Dakota Fanning's in this too. She plays a squeaky.
That's who that was. She looks a little different now that she's older.
So I will say Dakota Fanning. I was looking at Dakota Fanning. Like, it's weird to say that, but I was like,
she's how old is she now? Is she 18? She's probably 18.
Oh, dude, she's 18. Yeah, I think she's in her 20s now. 94, okay, so February 94. So she's 25. 25. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
Legal and of her own mental capacity to make her own decisions.
Yeah, like I'm like Tracy Lords, but yeah. Google that if that's a reference you don't get. But anyway, but that's her whole thing. But yeah, so seeing her in this was kind of a trip, to be honest. I was like, oh yeah, like that's the girl from the Twilight movies and Charlotte's Web. It's a little weird.
Yeah, oh definitely.
Like I was waiting for Denzel to show up.
Save her. It's like your sister or something. You're like, oh, this feels strange. Like if Hermione was ever, it'll be like, go do some Euphoria type show and be like, whoa, I don't think I like this.
No, agreed. I was waiting for Denzel to break into the compound and just start shooting everybody and be like, we're getting out of here.
Oh, man on fire, bitch. Everybody out.
But even when she's in the movie, she's watching TV, and again, they put their feet up, and Quentin is just on those feet, like he's practically licking his lips while he's shooting this shit. It's like, oh, okay, dude, we get it. Damn, this movie is not for your fetishes, like. Keep it in your.
I mean, this was a long movie, so there's a lot of feet.
There's a lot of that.
A lot of feet.
There's a lot of him doing that, and it was just, it got awkward. Like at the first time he did it, I was kind of like, all right, I think maybe I'm just kind of being paranoid, but there was a point I went, nah, man, he's on these feet,
Yeah, he loves the feet. So what? So tell me what are your thoughts overall on this thing? Like what was the feeling you got when you left?
I just left the theater feeling very, because again, we talked about it, like Rick and Cliff, their bromance is absolutely awesome. We haven't touched on the third act yet, so I'll kind of touch on that real quick. Basically, you see earlier on in the movie that that Cliff gets a marijuana cigarette from
it's an acid dipped cigarette.
Oh, that's right. It's an acid dip cigarette.
Yeah.
You know, and he goes, hey, I'm gonna, smoke this, and hang it and chill. So he smokes a cigarette, and this is after Rick has actually gotten married to this I want to say it's an actress, right? I want to say.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
After he had gone overseas to Italy to do like spaghetti westerns and stuff, and kind of had like a little bit of a career resurgence.
Right.
So he does that and tells Cliff, like, look, this is kind of the end of the road for us. Thank you for all your help.
In like an amicable way, very very much so.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much the classiest breakup you could honestly ever wish for, and they kind of have this whole sort of whole sort of not falling out, but they kind of go like, hey, this is the end of the road. So it's really sweet to actually watch,
mm-hmm.
but Cliff ends up smoking this acid cigarette and goes, hey, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and walk home. And he has this cute, adorable dog that I just wanted to hug that dog whenever I saw him. I was like, oh.
And the dog kind of plays into some of the really great things about Quentin Tarantino. And, like, there's this ritual that Cliff has with his dog where he opens up 2 cans of dog food and he kind of turns it upside down and the camera closes in and you hear the just sliding out and then slapping into the bowl. And it's just like... It contributes just to the whole experience of this movie, which I love and which we all love about these movies. But unfortunately, those alone can't support it. And as you're alluding to, the final scene is kind of where everything comes together that has been building up for most of this movie. This third act doesn't really quite take hold until I want to say like 2 hours in,
Yeah, about that.
And so like the last 40 minutes is kind of the build up, which in and of itself takes a while.
So after Cliff drops off Pussycat here at the Manson sort of compound, and basically says that he had a friend that he used to work on the movie set with. I think it was George. I want to say
George or Bob or something like that.
Yeah, and basically he goes like he finds out he's staying there, and he goes, "Hey, all of you are staying here." And let's keep clear, it's like 14 people, mm-hmm. something like that. I mean, they're all basically women except for like 2 dudes. So I was like, all right, that's a little weird, but. He goes, hey, I'm going to see, George, and Dakota Fanning's character goes, yeah, he's sleeping. He's got to be able to stay up, at night to watch, TV with me. And Cliff pushes his way through, reunites with George. George can't remember fucking shit. He's just like, it seems like he might have it seems like he has dementia. Mm. Or like some sort of or something along those lines, because he can't remember Cliff at all. They're clearly taking advantage of him for his space and shit. Like, it's not even a question of like, are you doing this? No, they're totally doing it. And so Cliff goes to leave, and one of the guys who works at the compound slashes his tire like an asshole, might I add, like a real dick move.
Like, and Cliff had done nothing at that point except going. He gave one of their friends a ride to that place.
Yeah,
and then he just goes checks on his friend, and these assholes slash his tires.
And then this is when he turns into Punisher. He beats this dude like he owed him money. I was like, holy crap! Like he broke his nose with like punch 2. His nose is broken, and then it's just laying into him. And he tells these girls who are freaking out, and he goes, "If you take one more step, I'll fucking kill him." I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "Well, that's pretty definitive. No room for misinterpretation there." But it's a cool scene. It's a really cool scene that sets the stage for what's happening later, because a couple of people from the compound go to try to kill Cliff. And this is where the movie really... It was like Quentin was almost holding it in. Mm-hmm. Like, he's like, okay, I can't go crazy. Yeah. And this is where I was just like, no. Because the home invasion aspect, it's very similar to something like The Strangers
Right.
or Us, where I went, oh, this is really tense. This is like, I'm all about this. And then it turns into the slapsticky, just gore fest where I just went, you didn't have to indulge, which I know you like to do.
It's like he was scratching an itch.
Yeah, and I just went, it didn't feel true to the rest of the film, which is such a fucking shame, because I was sitting there going, yeah, this is disconjointed, but I mean, I can follow most of it. I cannot find it because I've been looking for it. The little girl who was in this movie, but there's a scene with her and Rick where they're on the set of one of those new this new show, or this new this new movie, I want to say, that he's on. She plays Luke Perry's daughter Wayne in the movie, and you see it in the trailer where she goes, that's the best acting I've ever seen, and Rick gets all gets choked up, and that scene was hilarious, by the way. But they're talking about the actual art form of acting, and how she talks about how I want to be called my character's name on set, it helps me stay focused, and all these little tweaks that she's saying that Rick is kind of looking at her like, oh, sorry, can you say that again? Like, what was that? like he's taking notes. And I actually really love how there's that scene where Rick throws her to the ground, and he goes like, "Oh shit, I didn't hurt you, did I?" She's like, "No, I got pads on my elbows." She's like, "Whew, okay, cool." Yeah. There are multiple moments in the movie like that where I popped up and I went, "Oh my god, that's so cool." But the ending of this movie, it's so cartoonish. They have Rick using a flamethrower earlier in the movie for one of his films, which I thought was actually really funny, where he's taking on these Nazis. He goes, did anyone order sauerkraut? And just has a flamethrower and just starts just burning these Nazis. I was like, damn, okay. So when the home invasion stuff kicks in and he kills the chick using that flamethrower, I just went, oh, come on. I was like, no, don't do that. And it came across really cartoonish and honestly took me out of the movie. Kind of your thoughts on that last?
Yeah, I would agree with you, except maybe on the cartoon. I think they did go over the top, and it was not. And I wholeheartedly agree with you that there's kind of like a time and a place with this, and he just overloaded it on this one. Not even to. I mean, it was a good amount of violence, I would say, but it's not the gore levels of some of his other movies. But the fact that it was so compact into this final scene just made it more obvious. The flamethrower scene was pretty outrageous. But I did enjoy watching Brad Pitt's character Cliff beat up on this guy and this girl trying to kill him in his house, and his dog attacking, which was for sure slapsticky. And there's a point when the dog is has a firm grasp on this guy's junk, and it's like, okay, this, there's a point here. And the whole movie was leading up to that, and like you were saying, there was points in this movie where I was like, oh, that's really sweet, or there's these cut scenes that help describe certain situations, and those are always great. And even the narration is nice to help you follow along. It just adds something to it, but it didn't all come together. And when it was supposed to at the end, it wasn't quite as satisfying as you wanted it to be. And it wasn't this big mastermind plot of all these people coming together and fitting in all these weird ways. It just kind of was like happenstance. And I don't know, it didn't feel maybe quite finished, or it's hard kind of to describe the unfinished feeling of this movie. Not to say I didn't laugh or enjoy it, but it's, with our expectations, like we talked about earlier, you want something more.
I mean, I laughed, but at the same time, it totally doesn't fit the rest of the tone of the film at all, and I have to ding it. I have to ding it for that, because, yeah, it really was just, it got into, there's a point where Cliff has clearly killed them. They're not getting up, and it just turns into basically like it's almost like a blood splatter movie. Like it's something like Hellboy, where it was so just gratuitous violence for the sake of violence. And I was like, well, what's the point, anymore? And that really bummed me out because, I was mixed on this anyway. But the stuff I liked, I really did enjoy, and I think if it ended stronger, we might be having a different conversation. But since it didn't, I was like, well, that blows, and whatever, I guess. Kind of getting the final thoughts here. So the other thing I didn't even mention, Cliff. Oh my God, Cliff. There are so many scenes. They could have easily cut 10, 15 minutes just from Cliff driving and then having a 60s soundtrack. Like, goddamn, dude. Like,
there was so much nostalgia in this too. There was so much.
Dude, like, I know people want to give Adam Sandler shit for that, but oh my God, like Quentin, I get it, dude. You love the 60s. You love this bygone era, and
you're not kidding. He's driving around in like a quarter of this movie. Like, the Cliff is functioning as Rick's driver, but you see him drive constantly. Like, yeah, we get it. You want to put in your little news reports and the music and the time period advertisements for certain shows or whatever. But at a certain point, it's like that's what I mean when I mean it didn't need to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's not because like I don't think a movie should be that long, but he was like filling at certain points.
Yeah, and it really was one of those things. I was like, all right, guys, like I get it. Like, I totally understand that this is a thing, but this didn't need to be this long. It felt like he was trying to stretch the film for the sake of stretching the film, and that was frustrating to watch, to be completely honest. So, I mean,
what do you think? Yeah. What are your? I'm very interested to hear what you think your grade is.
I'm gonna give this, because the stuff I really liked, I really enjoyed, but the stuff I really didn't like, I was like, this is bothering me. I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give it a B. I even hate saying that because I know people are like, "What is?" I saw this at full price on Friday night, and I went, "Yeah, it wasn't worth $11." And actually, now that I think about it, I used a free pass on it, and I was like, if I paid full price on this, I would have gone, "Yeah, that wasn't worth full price." It's a shame too. Yeah. I know Tarantino. I know how good Tarantino is, but dude, honestly, it's not the dialogue that's his problem. It really is just his his story structure. It seems like the last couple films I haven't liked. The third act is where they've all fallen apart. That goes with Inglourious Basterds. That goes with Hateful Eight. Like it's that's the common thread. Is that the third acts just aren't finishing strong anymore. And to be fair, I thought he had his problem back with Kill Bill Volume 2. Because I think the fact I didn't get a David Carradine, The Bride proper fight scene. I know he was older. I get that, but the fact that I didn't even get a little hand to hand, because I know people go like, "Oh, well, it's more like poetic." I'm like, nah, like I got robbed out of a good fucking fight scene. Like, fuck that. So it's just frustrating. So yeah, it's a B, and I'm sure some people will go like, "That's dumb," and that's fine. You're wrong, but yeah, it's a B for me. Scott, your final thoughts and grades, sir?
Yeah, when I think about the third act, like you're talking about, the last few movies that he's done, I think I might agree with you. After Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction really kind of set the bar as far as the coming together of story arcs and like very well like told stories. I did love Django, but this is just I mean, I feel like I've kind of said everything that I wanted to on this. It was just definitely a disappointing one, even though I would see, I'm kind of battling on this. I think I would recommend this to somebody, and not as like with an open mind, because the cast is amazing, the cinematography, the way he sets the scene that I've talked about, Like, you really get immersed in his story, and I love that about his, kind of the same way like a Wes Anderson movie is, where you just feel like you're just totally living in that space, but it just doesn't live up to the other ones. Well, no, B seems like an excellent grade to me, so I'll give this one a B.
Wow. Okay. I was curious where you're going with that. It's funny. I talked to my roommate James because he reviewed it on his podcast. He's a contributor on here on occasion, but he gave like a 9, so that'd be like an A, and I'm just like, yeah. I even told him, like, that's too rich for my blood. Yeah. I was just like, nah, man.
I'll happily admit that I have the bar is high on this one, and that's influencing my grade for sure, but that it is what it is. And when you're able to pull together all these people and all this money, I mean, it was his best, he was his top grossing film, best opening weekend that he's had so far as a director. 40 million, which is incredible. But yeah, I just wanted more, but it's been said.
Yeah, like I don't know, it's a bummer, because again, I wanted to love it, and on my I taking my Uber on the way home, the Uber driver I had was a big Tarantino fan. He's like, dude, tell me, should I see it? And I was like, yes, but don't pay full price like I did. It's like I said, I didn't even pay full price. I just saw it like at night, and I was like, well, I could have seen.
I saw a matinee today, and I think it was worth a matinee price. If you can get in there early, then I would say go for it.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but yeah, man, I'm curious what his quote last unquote film's gonna be. I mean, fuck, Jay-Z said he was done, so I mean, Jordan said he was done twice, so I mean, like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, his whole, like, like, even Charles Gambino, he's like, I'm done rapping. I'm like, I don't believe you, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, I would love to see a Star Trek movie by Tarantino. I really would. I'd be curious as hell to see how that would work, but I don't know, man. Just these third acts of his last couple films, they're bumming me out. But
agree to disagree, because Inglourious Bastards and Django was awesome. So
again, I like Django a lot, but it's just Hateful Eight.
I didn't like Hateful Eight.
I don't, like I said, we just disagree on Inglourious Bastards. I like Django.
It's okay to be wrong, Hunter. All right.
What are you looking in the mirror? to quote Ali G. But yeah, guys. So I mean, like I said, and the reason I'm giving it a B for me is because I don't think if you're not a Tarantino fan, this would be the film to convert you.
Right. Absolutely.
That's where I kind of fall in line with my B. I was just like, yeah, if I showed this to someone, like, you could show someone, like, in your case, maybe Inglourious Bastards or like Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction, they'd go, oh, okay, like, they might want to go ahead and watch more Tarantino after seeing those movies. But I think if you showed this to someone, they go, oh, okay, like, this guy's a little self-indulgent. It's like, yeah, that's kind of, it's kind of his thing. But hey, that I'm happy you agree. You're on the right grade.
All right side of the law, Mr. Nearman.
But guys, what did you think of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? Let us know what you thought in the comments below. You can follow us. Go ahead and like us on Facebook. Pardon me, at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and now Stitcher. Yes, we're in Stitcher now.
Hell yes, Stitch it up.
Yeah, Stitch.
As the kids say, stitch it up and stitch it down.
Well, you are younger than me, so I feel like the kids would say that.
That's what they say on the streets.
So go ahead and follow us on Stitcher as well. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter at JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow Colin on Twitter at TheReal, that's REEL O'Neill. And you can follow Scott on Twitter at
Nearmanthefirst.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll have reviews up this week for we're gonna have a review for Hobbs and Shaw, which I'm so excited about.
This is gonna be so dumb.
I know you're not excited. Me and Colin are seeing it Thursday night.
You guys are crazy. This is so dumbest.
I hope I get an IMAX.
This is gonna be like, oh god, what's the ragtag group of Stallone and Jason Statham?
Oh, the Expendables.
The Expendables. This is gonna be like the Expendables all over again.
Oh, dude, I hope I get some bod body spray to go with my poster.
He's got the bod.
Dude, do you remember bod body spray?
I remember it. Yeah, I remember that commercial.
Oh, dude, I feel like this is gonna be like they're gonna spray each IMAX poster with bod body spray. Like, you want to smell like Jason Statham? Here you go.
What are you, some type of pussy? Why don't you spray this Axe all over yourself?
There you go. As someone who actually uses the Dark Temptation Axe, I won't talk shit.
Dark Temptation. That's what they used to call you in college.
Yeah, that was my stripper name, was Dark Temptation. Yeah, and it pairs great with my cocoa butter. Okay,
I can attest to that.
Yeah, just saying. Yeah, you've hung out with me enough. You know the scent of cocoa butter is frequently in the air.
I know, it's very frequent and always tantalizing.
Yeah, well, thanks, buddy. But we'll have a review up for Hobbs and Shaw this weekend, as well as Stranger Things 3, which, hell yeah, I've been wanting to talk to you guys about that, and I'm excited. I'm really excited to review Stranger Things 3. But, there's so much to break down on that. But, guys, thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Bye.